M3.
Welcome to the Millionaire Car Salesman Podcast,
M3.
the #1 resource for automotive sales professionals, managers, and owners
M3.
to learn how to make money, accumulate wealth, and to all out ball out in the auto industry. And now your hosts, Sean V. Bradley and L.A. Williams.
1, 2, 3, 4,
M3.
Hey everybody, this is Sean V. Bradley, president of Dealer Synergy, the creator of the Millionaire Car Salesman Group, and I'm rocking with a special guest. This is part 2 of the series with one of the absolute best closers in the automotive sales industry, Mr. Geno Kyle. Geno, what's up, brother? How you doing?
Good morning, man. How you doing?
I'm doing great, brother. So again, this week, what I want to talk about is closing. I want, for the people that didn't catch the last podcast episode, I want you all to know is that Geno and I did a video series, many years ago. It blew up, went industry viral. There's hundreds of thousands of views between YouTube, Facebook, as well as in Bradley Demand, and I think Cardone on Demand too. So Geno, the art of closing. Woo, let's get into it. So,
all right, so y'all heard all of this last week, so what I'm going to do is fast forward through this and bring it back in right around the time that I ended the podcast last week. So here we go, check it out.
Yes, sir.
We had this same conversation 12 years ago. And to me, it's sad that we're having this same conversation 12 years later.
Yes,
but
it is.
We're getting ready. But here's another thing. We're getting ready to remove a whole lot of doubt from this now.
Yes.
Yeah, because you got to take the conversation that you and I had 12 years ago, and then we're going to put 12 years worth of growth on it. And I'm about to plant some seeds, and we're going to water them. And there's a lot of people the game is about to get turned around for them today. The number one thing that you need to do, obviously, like he just mentioned, if you didn't qualify them right and you didn't put them on the right car, you've already diminished the possibility of closing that deal by probably 50 to 60% because they're on the wrong car. So it's either going to be one or two things. They're not going to like the car well enough to own it, or it's going to reach outside their realm of affordability. And that will be their excuse behind why they're not going to purchase it. But here's what it seems where I've seen in the past, a lot of guys fail when you're training your salespeople. When you're qualifying them, that gives you an opportunity to jump on the same page with the customer without there being any conflict. Because once you start negotiating a deal to a customer, they can't differentiate the fact that Sean's sitting down recapping the deal with me right now, or we're engaging in a conversation about the car, about the payments, or they just view everything as if it's a negotiation. And then there's so many things that shut down on their side because they believe that they're negotiating. And we're not necessarily conversing about the automobile, the value that it brings, the equipment packages, or any of those other things. So if you're going to wait to try to find a resolution to it all when you're trying to close it, you and your customer will not be on the same page at that particular point in time. The only time you're going to be on the same page is in the very beginning, when you're doing a wants and needs analysis. Why? Because we're having a 100% conversation about what suits their self-interest. At the end of the deal, it's still a 100% conversation about what suits their self-interest, but it has to be in their way. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, then there we go. You can simplify it 3 to 4 times if you put them on the right car from the get-go.
I would agree. And then here's my philosophy. I want your opinion on this. The whole point of the road to the sale, and why I think it's so important, it's supposed to give anybody, a fledgling brand new person, or even an experienced veteran, a pathway to be able to sell the vehicle and max gross. Okay. So we're trying to sell more cars more often, more properly. So there's a series of steps. And here's the key point as a trainer that I try to articulate. Each step builds on the next step, which builds onto the next step, which builds onto the next step. And here's the problem. If you don't have a road to the sale, right? Then what happens if you try to wing it? the prospect doesn't have a road to being a customer process. They're just trying to buy a car and they don't have a script. They don't have dealer synergy training how to be a good customer. So they're just asking questions and they could take you all over the place. The road to the sale is the pathway. It's the roadway, literally. That way, if a customer takes you here, takes you there, you could put them back on track and continue down the destination of that path to that sale. The first step after the meet and greet, after the initial, hey, my name is Sean, welcome to ABC Motors, or here's somebody in particular, is the qualification. 100% NADA, I'm going to reiterate it, says the number one reason why people don't buy cars is because they landed on the wrong car. Now, Geno, here's what I want to bring to your attention. You know what baffles me? We are going to Mars. I just watched William Shatner tell me that he cried when he was on, the space shuttle because we went to outer space. The freaking dude from Star Trek, Captain Kirk, went to outer space. Elon Musk put a Tesla and flew it into outer space. We've got robots, we've got chatbot, and all this other shit out there. But you know what dealers don't have? They don't have a customer worksheet. I can't tell you how many dealerships do not have a customer worksheet, or they don't enforce it. Or if they have one, it's at the discretion if somebody uses it or enforces it. If you have a good customer worksheet, a good needs analysis, and if it's created the proper way, it should prompt your people, especially the new people, the inexperienced people, on what to say, because it's not just about that vehicle. There's multiple variables that you need to qualify that's going to be able to gather the proper field intelligence to help steer you in the right direction. Would you agree with that?
Not only do I agree with that, but here's a huge question that I would like to ask. If that form is filled out and it's put in front of a manager, an experienced manager who can look at that and see and diagnose off the basic information that he needs to see, you are heading on the right pathway. You're getting ready to lock a deal in.
Absolutely.
Especially if it's qualified the right way. And then here's another thing that also comes into play, and it plays a tremendous influence on the confidence of your salesperson when you tell them that they did a good job. And that is correct. And you are heading in the right direction, as opposed to your salesperson qualifying this customer on his own. He gets up and walks your customer out on the lot and then puts them on the wrong car, and you have no knowledge of it at all. That's when the bleeding starts. That's when the bleeding starts. It's almost like that's when the bleeding starts. And then you think you caught them when they came back in and they started negotiating a deal. But then when you find out 45 minutes later that they're on the wrong car, well, now that cut is now infected.
Ooh,
it's infected. Okay. And once it gets infected and that infection starts to spread, and it doesn't take long in the mind of a customer, because they either gauge things by one or two things. This is going the way that it should, or it's not going the way that I want it to. And a lot of times, guess what happens to your subconscious mind when it starts figuring out that something's not right? What your natural instincts lead you to do as a consumer?
Start pulling back.
Start pulling back.
Mm-hmm.
Or hold on, let me help you out. Let me think about it.
Right.
I got to think about it.
That's my wife.
That's my safe word. Let me think about it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let me get your card and I'll call you back later. You didn't hit it right. If you'd have got on the same page from the get-go, if the guy told you he wanted to be at $550 a month and he was on an $850 a month car, if somebody would have corrected that scenario from the get-go, not necessarily saying that would have had to been a salesperson, but if a manager that would have taken that qualifying sheet and looked at it and understand that the stock number that this guy came in online is not in line price or payment wise with what his expectations are, maybe I need to go over here and get involved and see what's going on. Hey, Mr. Kyle, I found out you wanted to be at $450 a month and you're on a $750 a month truck. I mean, it might be hard for us to get there here. Oh, I forgot to tell you, Sean, I was putting $35,000 down. Okay, perfect. We'll just keep you guys moving in the right direction. I had an opportunity to meet you up front, and I'll be the one sitting down with you, going over your deal with you when you get back. But if you don't correct these small things, your deal's going to get infected.
Man, I agree with you again, brother, 100%. And in Bradley Demand, I actually took the time, I don't know if you've seen it, go into the file vault, Geno, and look at my dealer synergy needs analysis. I've been doing this, as you know, for about 24 years. And I believe that I've created one of the absolute best customer needs assessments in there with our flow.
You don't have to worry about that. I found it. I use it.
You like it?
I love it.
Yeah, man. And again, I went through the quadrants, and part of it for me is to be able to flow, because a lot of times what I see, let's say a sheet that's just about questions, some of the new modern needs assessments, because Foursquare became a faux pas. You can't say Foursquare and it's the old school shit. I don't believe in that at all. Again, to me, there's 4 quadrants in a car deal: the vehicle of interest, the current vehicle that they have, potential trade-in, the initial investment, and then the monthly investment. There's 4 main quadrants. And the way that I break it down visually, it makes it easier for a salesperson to have that printed out on their desk, or it could be digitized in a CRM. You know what I mean? It could just be a digital form, and it gives them a flow so they could stay on track. I don't want them to read it like it's a script. I want them to engage it like it's an outline, so they could go from section to section to section to section, so they could get the majority of the flow there. And the idea is, to your exact point, the whole purpose of a thorough needs assessment is to transition to the proper and the best specific product selection. So let's say we've done that. Let's say we're on we've got the product. We do a great features and benefits. Can you define now trial close? What is Geno's definition of a trial close? Not the word tracks, just the definition of a trial close.
To me, a definition of a trial close should only come into play after the vehicle of interest has been driven. And the reason that I believe that is because you can do all your research on a car, which is 12 to 14 hours. You locate where that vehicle is at, you schedule the appointment, you come in. But there's always a possibility that after you drive it, you still may not like it well enough to own it, right? If they don't like it well enough to own it, then there's no need to negotiate a deal. So obviously, why would I negotiate a deal on a car that you don't like well enough to own? Or any objection that would come up after that would be related to the car. So it's not my figures, it's my product. So when I got the right product in front of them and they tell me they like it well enough to own it, so underneath the right terms and conditions, you would agree to buy and drive it home to that. Sure, I would. Perfect. I just wanted to make sure we were on the same page in the end, the way we were in the beginning, 45 minutes ago when you got here. But I'm going to print a worksheet off and we'll throw some numbers around and let's see where it ends up at.
So let me define a trial close. Okay, a trial close is a sales tactic that assesses the buyer's readiness to make a purchase decision. Trial closes differ from traditional closing techniques. Most closing techniques ask a customer to make a decision regarding their purchase, whereas a trial close asks customers to share their opinion. Okay, this is now from dictionary.com right here. A trial close is not a normal closing technique, but a test to determine whether the person is ready to close. Use it after a presentation or after you have made a strong selling point. Use it when you have answered objections. The trials close may use other closing techniques or maybe a more tentative question. Okay, so I like what you're saying, so let's kind of parlay into this. Let's just say that I first come in. Can you demonstrate a Geno Kyle trial close, I guess, in the very beginning before you print off the customer worksheet? So after we did the meet and greet, how would you start your trial close or your selling techniques?
Well, I mean, I know that the interest that you might have had in pursuing the car could very well be different after driving the car. So let's sit down for a minute and I'd like to discuss with you how you felt after driving it. How'd you feel after driving it?
Man, it was actually, I really enjoyed it. It's got a good ride. It's faster than I thought. I love the cockpit in here and the whole new touch screen and the CarPlay. I'm loving it. I'm loving everything about it.
So the car performed and handled the way you'd expected it to.
It more than so. It did better than I thought.
So here we go. Let's just keep this as generic as I possibly can. So you can see your name on the registration?
Possibly.
Could you see it parked in your driveway?
I would love to see it parked in my driveway.
I think we're close enough to go ahead and move forward. And then we're going to go ahead and write this deal up. So, I mean, hey, listen, I don't need to know you want to marry me. I just need to know you're attractive enough right now. So let's just go ahead and start getting into what's going to build a relationship. And then you got to write that deal up.
So Geno, let's go through this for the people that are brand new. So think of like a newbie, right? So when's the first time you deploy a trial close? Like literally, so I want you to use the words, okay, after meet and greet, help us know in the road to the sales steps, when the first time you drop a trial close, and then give me the script for that.
Personally, in my opinion, I would do it when we were turning back into the dealership off of the test drive.
Okay, so you don't do. Okay, so that's in the middle it's past the middle. It's on the second half, like right before we sell the car. So you don't drop a trial close in the beginning when, like you find out, are you looking to purchase a vehicle today, or is this going to be a shopping day? I mean, some people have those type of questions. Those are passive questions.
Well, I would obviously, I know what
that's not my script. I'm just trying to lead you.
Well, my whole thing is I know you have time that I need to be respectful of. And speaking of which, when did you want to have all of this completed by? I didn't know if this is something you had an interest in getting wrapped up today. You may have just started looking. This could be an information day. Are you thinking about this weekend or 2 weeks?
But that is in the beginning of the conversation, wouldn't it be?
I would. When I'm qualifying them, I need to know what type of time expectations we're setting.
So that's my point I was trying to lead you to. So again, I want to clear for the audience, because again, like on the podcast, they can't see you and us, they're just hearing us, right? So I want to be super clear. You had said originally after you come back from the test drive. That's not accurate. Based on what you just said, it's going to be very much in the beginning. So my point to this, folks, is that you want to start trial closing from the beginning. Remember, ABC, always be closing. Again, there's difference of closing statements and closing tactics versus trial closes. You're trial closing somebody as soon as they walk into the dealership. As soon as they sit down in front of you, you want to identify, is this a buying or shopping experience if you can? Geno, do you agree with that or disagree with that?
Oh, most definitely. You want to know, what their intentions are.
So let's start from the greeting or the qualifying stage. I'm going to ask again, when would you start with that type of a trial close?
Well, if they came in on a specific car,
yes.
Is this something you were trying to get wrapped up today? I didn't know what your interests were, but I think it's best if we get on the same page right now. When did you expect to have all of this completed by?
Okay, that's perfect. So folks, I love that. So you're asking somebody right in the very beginning, is this something that they are looking to do today or the near future? Is this a shopping day? This is the buying day. Again, can you give that word track again that you use? This is Geno's. I love this.
Well, I know you have, obviously you have time that I need to be respectful of. And in the middle of all of this, obviously, if you came in on this specific car, what type of time frame were you looking at upon which you'd like to have all of this completed? So if you came in on this specific car, is this something you were trying to get wrapped up today? Or more importantly, is there another decision maker that I might need to be respectful of that's going to be involved at a different point in time? I just want to make sure that we're on the same page moving forward. And see, the best part about it, like you said, when you're doing it and you're qualifying, it's non-offensive. Because everything that I'm approaching is about your self-interest and how you want to do things and your expectations of when you want to get things done. So if you come in and you're on this stock number and you tell me, no, I just drove from an hour and a half away, I'm ready to get it wrapped up right now. You already know where you're standing at. It's showtime.
Hey, repeat it one more time. I agree with you, but I want them to hear it again.
Which part, brother?
That whole part, the whole thing again.
Well, I mean, there's a time frame in which you've got that I need to be respectful of, and I need to know what your time frame is and how you wanted to get things wrapped up. I mean, is this something that you were prepared to do today, or is this something that's set for down the line? So I want to make sure the experience that I'm providing for you is catered towards what you expect. You can pitch it in a number of different ways. But as you would say, it's all about how you ask that question, especially when it comes to your tone and your voice inflection. Hey, man, you have time that I need to be respectful of. Is this something you were trying to just get back out of the way so you can get back to your normal life? Or is there some time here that I need to be respectful of, like maybe within the next day or so, next week or so, or maybe this weekend? It all depends on how you want to word it based upon the person you're with.
Okay, now we're going down the evolutionary lines here. So now we just went from the qualification, customer worksheet. We transitioned, let's just say we did a proper product selection, and let's just pull a product out. Let's just say it's a 2023 Chevy Traverse. Okay, perfect. So it's a 2023 Chevy Traverse that we picked. I would also say during the features and benefits walk around presentation is another opportunity to drop trial closes. Trial closes are when you're asking questions, even when you're saying, what features are important for you to own? That's a trial close question. Again, what's the most important features in your vehicle? You know what I mean? Those type of things. So when you're doing the walk around presentation, can you give some suggestive scripts or word tracks, not just in the presentation stuff, but trying to frame the mental ownership part of this? Geno?
All of the things that you just described to me that were important to you when we were inside talking about, let's point those out on this car right now. So what I'm doing is that the car that was the object of what it is that they desired that brought them in, the first thing I want to validate is that this car has everything that we discussed that you were looking for. Why? So we can get that thing out of the way. So there's some comfort level even before we take a test drive that, okay, it's got everything I want on it. That is watering the seed of that trial close, right? And then anything that I know that I specialize in terms of my knowledge of my product, because I'm training on my product every day and my equipment packages and all of those things, anything that I speak of past what their immediate interests are is a value add, because then obviously price only becomes relevant when it's absent the value, right? So when you put all of those things together, it's got everything you wanted and it's got so much more.
Absolutely.
And wait a minute, hold on. My word path was price only becomes relevant when it's absent value. Is that correct?
Yeah, I like to say very close. I like to say price is only relevant with the absence of value. That's the way that I put it.
There we go.
So price is only relevant with the absence of value.
Give me your feedback on it. I mean, obviously, you got your hands out here in the industry so much with these people. Are we really exercising or implementing the trial closes through the process as well as we should?
Absolutely not. Absolutely
and
not.
If not,
absolutely not. And here's the other part. Because we're going through the road to the sale right now. In the features and benefits walk around presentation, some of these salespeople, I want to just shake them sometimes. And I want to shake the sales managers that are training them, because they have like the butterfly technique and they have this technique and that technique. But what they're not doing is they're not understanding that it's just basic shit. If I qualified you and you said the most important thing was the fact that you've got, 3 kids and you need to fit the car seat, then I am not going to the hood. I don't give a shit what the trainer said, what the OEM rep said. I'm not starting at the damn hood. I am going to start at the most important thing that the prospect feels. That's what I'm showing them first. Okay, because there's a couple of reasons for that. One is people have low attention spans. Okay, they really do. I mean, it's like, oh, there you go, a shiny object. You don't know when somebody is going to detach. You don't know, and this is just a hyper exaggeration. This is an exaggeration, but you don't know. Somebody can say, oh my God, I have a meeting, I got to go. And then guess what? The most important message that you had, you never told them. So I always try to train my students and my trainees that, look, when you qualify them, put them in what I call empirical order. What are the most important things to them? Start with those things first. Now, obviously, don't be disjointed and go in around all over the place, but I want to start with the most important things and make sure that I show those to the prospect first. Would you agree with that strategy?
Well, I think it's a reflection of sincerity and consideration.
Ooh, yes, sir.
If I'm telling you what's important to me, then let's address the things that are important to me first. And then everything that you explain after the fact, I think all of those things are great. But I think getting on like we talked about before, getting on the same page of what I'm looking for in the next automobile I'm trying to buy, that's imperative. You go over those things first. You mentioned something about windows, locks, tilt, cruise, and then being able to get into a vehicle that has all the advanced safety features, which led us into this equipment package. Not only does it have those advanced safety features on this equipment package, but in addition to that, it's got all these other things too that I think you'll get enjoyment and a peace of mind out of.
Absolutely. So now from the features and benefits walk around presentation, you transition to the demonstration drive. Again, once you're on the demonstration drive, this is another opportunity for you to deploy, again, trial closes. asking, you asked some of those questions before on this podcast to me when you said, can you see you owning this vehicle? Can you see this vehicle parked in your driveway? Where's the first place you're going to take this vehicle on vacation? If I qualified, it goes back. If I qualified the prospect and it was a female, I'm not profile, I'm just saying it was a soccer mom, in this Traverse, I'd say, hey, where's the first game you're going to take the new Traverse to? Things like that. Geno, can you give some examples of that type of stuff? How you could have the mental ownership of that vehicle during the test drive conversation?
Some of the things I want to know is, how's it feel? How's it feel in comparison to the last car that you were driving? And what were some of the issues that you were having out of the last car that sparked you to want to make a transition into this one? And then what I'm trying to do is get them into the justifiable reason behind why they want to get out of that 275,000 mile car with bad brakes, bad tires, scratches, dents, and dings on it, to why they would want to transition into obviously a newer car with lower miles, more and better engineering and better safety features. But what I'm doing is I'm building that connection, not just with the car, but where they see themselves going in their lives too. Because, sometimes because we sell cars, it means nothing to us, but you don't understand the impact of what a new car means to someone else. So I kind of want to jump into the emotional hip pocket of how's it feel to be thinking about you're going to be going home in a new one in about 45 minutes. You know what I mean? What else is next is coming? What else is going to get better in your life? This is where we're at with it. Then it's about a pure emotional connection with the car, because then that's when you're starting to understand where the true value lies and what brought them in and what doesn't. Does that make sense? The 100%. Car is really, you're selling the car, but then the car is connecting with the person that's buying.
Okay, so now this is going to go back where you shine. So you take us back, you park the vehicle right by service, you do a service walk to build value in the service department.
Yes.
Again, because people are going to service their car way more than they're going to buy the car. Meaning, how long does it take to buy a car versus how long your ownership experience is going to be, and all the stuff you're going to do, from oil changes, tire rotations to, service, maintenance, et cetera, et cetera. So now I just went through the service walk with you and you took me to the desk. How do you start the closing process and negotiation process?
Obviously, what I would like to do is I'm going to print off a worksheet, and at the bottom of my worksheet, I would ask that I'm not asking you to buy a vehicle from me without the negotiation of a price, because that is your freedom. That is your luxury. I am here to just facilitate that. But what I would like to express to my boss is that we found you a vehicle that you like well enough to own, and you'll buy it and drive it home today, providing that the figures fall in line. And I just wanted to know if you would support me with your signature on the bottom of this worksheet before we get to the figures, because I want us to remain a priority in everything that's going on at the sales desk.
Okay, so Geno, I want you to repeat that, but what I want you to do is, let's just pretend that our audience is your training class and I'm your customer. So I want you to say, I just took Sean on test drive. I sat down, and then repeat what you said, but in that framework. Explain exactly what you're doing with me as your customer.
I just got back off of a test drive with Mr. Bradley. We had a great 45 minutes with one another. I've got my qualifying sheet in one hand. I've got the vehicle of interest that I printed off in the other hand. As you can see, we've gotten on the same page. We're in line. We went outside, we spent some time, we walked around the vehicle. It has all of the options that he was looking for, plus some additional things that he found value in. We took a great test drive. We're back right now, and he's confident enough to have given me his signature that he'll buy it and drive it home today if the figures are agreeable. That puts my manager, it puts the spotlight on him. Mm-hmm. That if this deal doesn't come together, it's only because of the figures. It's not because the car hasn't been sold. That signature.
Hold on. That is an incredible point for our audience. A lot of times it's not just about like the price of the vehicle. And this is why I have you on the show, because you are a master at this. It's, you want to identify if they like this vehicle And again, there's the only issue is the numbers. You know what I mean? Like you want to try to identify, do they love this vehicle enough to own it? Can you freestyle on that concept? Why it's so important for the salesperson to be able to get that information, and why, as a sales manager, it's really important to be able to clearly understand if the customer likes the vehicle or not. Explain that whole concept.
I think of the most important thing before the numbers is knowing that the product has been sold. They've been sold on it. And if the road to the sale is a singular process, I mean, this is one of the markers in the road that you need to have accomplished in order to execute the transaction, that the car has been sold. The value has been instilled in the car. And with that in mind, it also says a lot about how the customer feels about your salesperson when they will sign that they will buy and drive a vehicle home today, and the only thing that's left to get worked out is the numbers. As a desk manager, I look at what that says to me about how my customer feels about my sales rep. It's locked in. The rapport is established. The belief is there. The trust is intact. The job has been done right. The product presentation and demonstration is falling in line. The qualification process, my customer is on a car that they can afford. And I know that as a desk manager sitting there, even before I desk a deal. Basically, it's almost as if my deal was already predetermined before it actually got to me 45 minutes later. As a seasoned desk manager, that's what I'm looking for. Did he put it together right? And when they come to that sales desk with that signature, it's showtime. It's 100% execution at that point.
Let's repeat the word track again. We just came back in. You were role playing. I'm the prospect. How are you going to talk to me as soon as we got back from the test drive?
Sean, after driving the vehicle, how do you feel about it after the test drive?
It's nice. I like it.
But it has all the features and all the features that you were looking for, and it fulfills your expectations.
It's got all the important features I need. Absolutely.
Okay. Let me ask you this question. Did it perform and handle the way you would expect it to?
Oh, for sure. Absolutely.
Okay. Perfect. It's very, very important that I know that moving forward. Let me ask you this. Is it safe to say that if money weren't an issue, would you buy and drive this vehicle home today?
Yeah, absolutely. If this was, if money was an issue, I would love to own this vehicle for sure.
I would love an opportunity at writing your deal up and making an offer and trying to put a deal together. But let me ask you this question. I would like to get your signature. Not saying that you would buy the car without negotiating, but I would like to convey to my boss that you and I put our heads together and we found you a vehicle that you like well enough to own. And if the figures are agreeable to you, you would buy and drive it home today. Would you feel comfortable representing that?
So wait a minute. So you want me to sign that I'm interested in, that I like the vehicle, and that if the numbers are agreeable, that I drive it home? Yes, I'm okay with that. As long as I'm not signing that I'm buying the vehicle today without negotiating.
Not at all. That's the last thing that I was. We're actually, Sean, we're actually getting ahead of ourselves. I want to convey that the car is the car that you like well enough to own.
Oh,
maybe
yes.
I should have worded it that way.
Okay, no, that makes a lot of sense for sure. Absolutely.
Perfect.
This is the car that I would love to have the opportunity to buy. Yes.
You see how we presented it one way, and when there was a level of confusion, we didn't overcomplicate it. We came back with another word path and simplified it even more. Does that make sense?
Yes, yes, yes.
One of the things you want to be able to do if you're going to be able to close people, you need to have the tone and the voice inflection that gives that customer confidence to make a decision and not say something that makes them want to run away from making one. Does that make sense?
Yes.
That's when we start getting into the hyper advancement of closing, but that's at a later date.
So now, after this point, you go to the tower, you tell the tower or your sales manager, desk manager, we got an opportunity here. They give the first pencil. How do you go in and present the first pencil?
Obviously, the market value of the car was $29,995, but for the sales event, it's been reduced to $26,995. After evaluation of your vehicle and checking several resources, we found that the market value on your trade is $3,000. You'll be at a $23,995 difference, obviously, plus taxes, title, and fees. If you don't have any objections or reasons for not moving forward, all I need is your signature right here, and I'll get your car cleaned up and we'll get you on your way.
I love it. Again, for the audience, repeat that word track one more time.
The sales price, the current market value of the car is $26,995. We, from several resources that we've checked, we found that the market value on your trade is right around $3,000, which brings your trade difference down to obviously $23,995 plus taxes, title, and registration. If you don't have any objections or reasons for not moving forward, I need your signature right here, and I'll get your car cleaned up and we'll get you on your way home. Now,
some people will just get spotted right there. Some people are going to turn and push back because it's the first pencil. And I'm like, I'm not really comfortable with that.
But it's not the car, is it?
So this is Geno. This is your magic right here. Your line I love it. It's so simple but so powerful. Again, so simple, so powerful. So whatever they say, your response is going to be,
it's not the car, is it?
No, it's not the car, man. It's these freaking numbers right here. It's crazy.
So here we go. So why do we go back to the car? Why?
Because you want to make sure that this is the right car for them. Because sometimes it might be a stall. Sometimes it might be something else. You're trying to isolate. I'm assuming you're trying to isolate and identify, is the objection solely the price, or are they not on the right car? Is it missing something? Because again, price is only relevant with the absence of value. So either we didn't sell them enough on the car, or, you know what I mean? It is financially the situation. Am I correct?
All right. Pull a layer back.
Okay.
You and I have been together for 45 minutes to an hour. We've got extraordinary rapport with one another. We're sitting down. I deliver your figure. You tell me, Geno, that's not going to work. I ask you, it's not the car, is it? No, it's not the car. I love the car. I'm taking you from a viewpoint of something that's of dissatisfaction, and then I'm placing you back to a mindset of total satisfaction, because I'm buying myself a brand new Z71 pickup truck today. And that's what makes me feel good about what it is I'm doing. So now let's just get back to the one thing that's standing in the way of you buying it and driving it home. What would that be, Sean?
It's the down payment, man. I that's just too much for me.
Man, that's okay. And I respect that. Share, if $5,000 is too much, share with me what you were thinking. Not tell me, not what would you do. Don't tell here. And here's another couple of things. Let's just break into this too. Don't ask people what's wrong, and don't ask people what's the problem. You're planting the wrong seeds. Share with me. Not what's your problem. Because if I came up to you on the street and I asked you what's your problem, the first thing you're gonna start thinking, right?
It's like, what? What you mean?
But think about it. If me and you have been together for 45 minutes and we've been hanging out and we've been kicking, and you've got a grandson that plays football at the high school down the corner, and I know his name, and I've watched this kid play, and I've seen his last game, our level of rapport isn't on an entirely different level than for me to be asking you if there's a problem or if something is wrong. And whatever it is that's on your mind, Mr. Bradley, just understand, man, you can share whatever it is that you want with me in total confidence and knowing that I'm going to respect how you feel. But Sean, share with me what you were thinking in regards to your down payment.
Man, I was thinking that's a little bit high, honestly, right now. I was thinking before I came here, I was trying to put nothing down, but realistically, I had to put something. I could probably come up tough with about 3,000.
So you can come up with $3,000 down.
Yes, Geno.
Oh, man, I don't have a problem with that at all. And I hope they don't either. So we're on the same page, and we're going to stay that way. So what we offered you in regards to the sales price is fair, your trade. But the only thing that's standing in the way is you wanting to put $3,000 down.
Correct.
Okay. So $26,995 for a sales price. I would, in turn, whatever the worksheet says on the front, I would flip that worksheet over. Sean V. Bradley's offer is price $26,995, trade $3,000. Down payment, $3,000. I wouldn't get into any overcomplicated math whatsoever. The only thing that you should be writing on the back of that sheet is what they said. The only thing that's on the back of that offer sheet is what they said. $26,995, $3,000 for the trade, $3,000 down. Sean, if I can help you get accomplished, will we have a deal?
Man, let's run it.
Right now?
If you could turn around and get me this vehicle for like basically $2,000 less, but everything else is what I see here, I'm in.
Man, is there anything else?
I'll take a cup of coffee, a caramel macchiato venti, please.
Okay, I'm here. You sign right here. I'm gonna go get your coffee, and then I'll be right back. And then I'm here to take this up here, and we can relock this deal up. The only thing that matters to me is what it is that you want. The close, after all of these years, it isn't more difficult. It needs to become more simplified.
But then the reality, though, is that unless the dealer is going to take a 2G loss, it's going to probably get reflected in the payments or what have you. So how are you going to present that, the reality check? You're a sales manager.
Well, you can look at it one or two ways. We can resolve the issues of the payment right now as I'm negotiating the deal. And then you can just let the customer know, hey, $5,000 down would have put you right on top of $450 a month, but $3,000 down is going to make an adjustment in your payment, and here's what's going to fall out. But I kind of figured that you'd rather pay another $1.50 a day than give me another $2,000 and fall exactly on top of the payment you wanted to be at. But you know what, Sean, it's your transaction, it's your deal, and I want you to be happy. You guide me in the right direction. You show me which one works for you.
So what is your personal opinion? Do you think that the salesperson should kind of give them the readjusted reality math right there? Or do you think they should, like you said, flip over the paper, just write the advocate number, the prospect advocate number, what they say, go to the desk. Then when the desk pencils the second pencil back with the reality check, then present it. So the question is, when should you give them the reality check? Because there's pros and cons. You know, if somebody's not experienced in that math as quickly as you did, $1.50 a day, you know, again, they might flubber that or what have you. And it might be them that's giving that bad news versus, you know, it's coming from the desk. What is your opinion? I don't have one in particular. I want to hear from you.
I think, man, a lot of it depends on the experience and the tenure
exactly.
of the person that I'm working with. If I've got some kid that is totally green, and through my evaluation of him, I know that he does so many other things right, but then again, he lacks the tail end competence to close a deal that gets that in depth. Shame on me as a manager if I thrust him into that. Ooh. And knowing that I haven't properly trained him to where he has the competence to address a payment bump concern. If all this kid has been trained on after a week and a half is flip that paper over, write down the price, the trade, the money down in the payment, and have him sign it and bring it to me, that's all I want him to execute. Now, if it requires a payment bump, then I think as a manager, I need to do it, or I think it needs to go into F&I and that needs to take place. But I wouldn't take something that has ran so well and then jeopardize it by losing it in the end by sending somebody into a fight that I know that they're not prepared for. I'm not saying that I don't have enough confidence to know that they'll win. But if I know they're not prepared, shame on me for sending them in, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay.
Shame on me.
After these messages, we'll be right back. Dealer Synergy is an award-winning training, consulting, CRM, recruiting, and accountability firm. We are a 13-time Dealer Choice Award winner. We have proudly served automotive dealers for 20 years and have trained over 150,000 automotive sales professionals. We've worked with over 3,700 rooftops across the country, not including our global clients in Canada, Russia, the Dominican Republic, and more. We are the most sought after subject matter experts and pioneers of the automotive industry. Our executive team has a combined 75 plus years of automotive industry expertise at the highest level. We've literally taken dealerships from having challenges and problems, some even on the brink of bankruptcy, to becoming national success stories.
Dealer Synergy had really helped build something from the ground up. You guys have made me fall in love with what I've always loved to do. I give credit to Dealer Synergy.
I just hired 8 people, and Dealer Synergy HR really was critical in me being able to do it.
You provided the training, you helped us with our CRM. You provided a solution for a lot of things that I was looking for. Our people loved LA, what Karen has done for me personally. Franca, her communication back and forth. You've got a really solid group of people.
Having somebody like Sean and his company that knows automotive, so the marriage between what knowledge he possesses and the fact that he has this great video production staff, it gives you the best of both world. So I would certainly recommend them.
Sean comes in the dealership and he advanced us light years ahead of our competition.
Just an absolute leading edge training company.
Go to BradleyOnDemand.com and give your team access to the best automotive training in the world.
So now, how would you handle that if you were the manager going in? So let's just say that like Malik was my salesperson. He came to you with just the advocate back of the side signed. You came in. How would you present the reality check to me as a manager?
So you got to look at it in a couple of different ways, right? The sales aspect of it has already been completed. He got it right. He wrote it up. He got a signed off commitment that he would buy it and drive it home today. He got that right. He presented my numbers. He got that right. He got an offer. He got that right. Now, I know when I go in on a TO, it's not the car, and the objections have already been finalized to one thing. So I can either go in with my knowledge of what I know about that deal and let him know. I can either deliver a peace of mind right now and let you know that you'll be right between $450 to $500 a month, or, hey, Mr. Bradley, I know you had expressed with Geno 40 to 45 minutes ago the desire to be at $400 to $450 a month. But here's where your numbers fell out when you only put down $3,000. You'll let me know if that works for you or not. I'm not reducing any gross based upon the information that you just shared with him. I plugged it in, and here's where the numbers fell out.
So now, wait a minute. Now let's talk about options in here, and because a lot of salespeople might not realize this stuff. So it's not one or the other. There's also another option, okay, or a couple options. So let's go through this. Let's just use a scenario here. If we were at $5K down, $5,000 down would be $450 a month, hypothetically, right? If we're now down to $3K down, it would go from $450 to, let's just say, $500. So either A, scenario one, the prospect will take the bump. Scenario two is that the dealership could cut the gross in the deal, theoretically. Right. Option three is that it's a little bit of both. There's a compromise where that you maybe lower the gross a little bit and they take a little bit of bump. Or I think there's a couple other scenarios. What about extending the term? Because if we were on a 60-month finance at, $450 a month, if we went to 66 or we went to 72 months or et cetera, we might be able to get there. Can you talk about the other creative ways in this scenario that a salesperson or sales manager might not think of? How can we get this deal done? That's what I'm asking.
Well, I think the thing it is when you identify, first of all, I'm not sacrificing any gross, whether it be in trade allowance or in sales price. So when I go in off my initial TO, I'm still going back in at my initial figure, right? So I already know that it's going to come up. The one thing that's standing in the way is the monthly payment and the cash down. I'm going to deliver that monthly payment with the adjusted amount of $3,000 down and not $5,000 down. And then I'm going to see if he'll sign at that number. If not, if that alternative doesn't work, then you are exactly right. I do have an option of extending a financing term and falling on top of that payment, or I do have an option at the tail end of either bumping the trade or reducing the price to hold the integrity of my deal together.
But you wouldn't, would you, I personally wouldn't, for the record, but unless I absolutely had to, would you switch the car? Because they already said multiple times, this is the car that they like. I don't like that. I would only use it as maybe one of my absolute last resorts, is to sell them on a lower type of vehicle, instead of like a Honda, an EX to an LX or something like that.
Well, let me ask you this. Relative to it being first of all, I think it applies to different scenarios. What about as far as a used car is concerned? Because obviously a new car is still a brand new car. There's a peace of mind of buying a brand new car, right? But I'm talking about a used car. Don't you think that having to switch a guy to a nicer, newer car with lower miles and great equipment would be hard to do, to move him to an older car with higher miles and not as good a condition after so much time? I think I guess what I'm trying to say to you is, if there was a time to switch to an older car with higher miles for a cheaper price, I think that would have been when we qualified him, not after we've sold him. Did that sound right?
That's what I want you to say, honestly, because there's a lot of people out there that are doing TO's ass backwards. And you know what I'm talking about. They'll turn around and come in and they will unwind the last 45 minutes or 2 hours that was just spent with that prospect. And I think it's, like you said, it's not the right time to do that. Again, like anything, if you messed up in the beginning, you have to deal with the aftermath and try to do what you got to do. But I would agree with you, Geno, that's not the best time to do it. It's not impossible to do it, but it's not the best scenario. So
it's almost like you're young and you're single, and somebody introduces you at the beginning of the night to the person of your dreams, and all you think about is marrying them all night long. And then right around 11 o'clock, they come back and tell you, well, we know you really had an attraction to this person, but this is who you really going home with at the end of the night, right? Hell no, I'm out. I'm out, dog. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh my gosh!
Don't put me in front of a S63, and then when I get ready to go into the finance office, you telling me I'm taking a C300 home, because dog, I'm not driving that. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, who I am don't fit that, so I'm not driving that. And I think people are the same way. They really are. But don't show me something nicer, and then don't show me something nice and then don't show me everything and then give me half of that and then expect me to be happy with it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
If we're going to do this, we need to do this in the beginning.
I love it.
Me too, Sean. This is such meat and potatoes that I think I'm going to make a part 3 out of this. I'm going to let y'all chew on this for the next week, and then I'm going to bring back, because we're getting ready to jump into some questions directly from the Millionaire Car Salesman Facebook group, and so I'm going to let that be part 3 of this podcast. So stay tuned. Next week, it's going down. Talk to y'all then. Peace. If you enjoyed this podcast, then make sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and leave us a review. Let some other folks know about it. Oh, and don't forget to join the Millionaire Car Salesman group on Facebook. We'll see you there.